This is for 5th grade ELA, text set Understanding How Things Work. We're going to infer the importance of learning to make things by hand. What would you say if I told you that you can make something with your own hands that would let you fly? It might sound impossible, but I have a book here that says it's possible. This book's title is Skateboards and is written by Patricia Lakin. How many of you have tried skateboarding? How about watching skateboarders? Do you think it's like flying? Let's find out exactly what Patricia Lakin means and what she wants to tell us. If you got wheels on your feet, you can fly. What, freedom? You can swoosh on a skateboard, you can use it for tricks or for travel. Just what is a skateboard? In the following pages we'll find out. You'll also get a behind-the-scenes look at a very special company where these wheeled wonders are made by hand. You'll find out why the man who created this business just had to put wheels under his own feet. What is a skateboard? A skateboard is a narrow board. It has 4 wheels attached to its underside. There are 3 main parts. There is the deck or top part, which I believe this is the deck. The part you put your feet on. The trucks are the metal pieces attached underneath. Those are the trucks. They hold the third part, which is the wheels. But a skateboard is so much more than its parts. History of skateboards. No one really knows who made the first skateboard, but kids long to have wheels under their feet. Even before the 1920s, kids nailed a wooden fruit crate onto a board, attached wheels to it, and took off. By the 1930s, companies were making scooter-style metal boards. So most people would pick California as the birthplace of skateboards. That's because there's a strong link between skateboarding and surfing. But California surfers could ride the waves only when there were waves. When the Pacific Ocean was calm, those surfers needed another way to keep their bodies moving. In the 1960s, these itching-to-go surfers would make their own skateboards. First, they'd find a plank of wood. Then they would take the wheels off roller skates and nail them onto the board. Presto! They had their own skateboard. Soon the sport spread far beyond California. The next 30 years brought improvements in the wheels and the board's decks. In 1972, a company named Cadillac created wheels made of a material called urethane. These wheels gripped the sidewalk surface and gave skateboarders a smoother ride, and instead of a straight slab of wood, many deckers now have a raised front and a back tip. This allows the rider to do more skating tricks. Over time, skateboarders kept coming up with new and interesting ways to use the board. Now special parks are constructed to give skateboarders places to ride. Some skateboard designers want to make boards that help skateboarders try new tricks. Other designers want to bring back the beauty found in old-style boards. That's where Jake Isselman comes in. He started a company called Side Project Skateboards. He purposely makes his boards flat to honor the style of the 60s. Most important for Jake, he can proudly say, "My skateboards are made by me. They are all made by hand." Meet Jack Isman. Whoosh! 8-year-old Jake Isman swooped downhill on a snowboard. He loved his winter sport, but couldn't do it often. Jake grew up in Virginia. There are no high mountains in Virginia, and there's not much snow. His mom suggested he get a skateboard. Yes, whizzing on that board gave Jake the same joy and thrill as snowboarding, and he could do it year-round. Jake kept on skateboarding even when he went off to college in San Antonio, Texas. Jake was sure he'd go on to law school. His plan changed after he met and fell in love with a classmate, Marks. She was an art major. Jake got to learn about Mark's artistic world and realized he could have a career creating things. He gave up the idea of law school. After college, they both moved to Houston, Mark's hometown. Jake started working with Mark's father, Hugh. He frames pieces of art. As the two worked side by side, Hugh filled Jake with stories of his own skateboarding adventures from when Hugh was growing up in the 60s. Hugh's stories gave Jake, such still dedicated skateboarder, an idea. Each day, Jake had to toss out beautiful strips of maple, swamp ash, cherry, or walnut. They were too small to use for the art frames Hugh made. But Jake was drawn to the variety of colors and the magnificent patterns in these wood strips. What if Jake glued them together? He could make his very own skateboard. That's what Jake did. Skating on a board made with his own hands gave Jake a feeling of joy. In fact, it is. So that's him. That's Jake. Still the board that Jake uses every day as he skateboards around town. Others saw Jake's board and wanted one too, and that's how Side Project Skateboards was born. Making skateboards is Jake's side project. His other career is in the creative advertising. He helps other companies sell their products. Jake deals with words and ideas all day long. In the evening, he enters his woodworking shop and he turns on the heavy metal music that he loves. Then he gets to work. Making something with his very own hands gives Jake such a sense of accomplishment that it's always impossible to describe. The skills he uses in his day work help him tell people online in the real world all about Side Project Skateboards. The advice Jake would like to pass on is, be honest with yourself, find what fires your passion. Above all, feel comfortable and unafraid to take chances. So it seems that there are a few things that are important to Jake. What would you say they are? Does Jake's advice sound sensible to you? What chances do you think he's taken? How the skateboard is made. Jake goes through a huge pile of toss-out wood strips. He prefers using hardwoods such as maple, cherry, and walnut. He looks at the wood's color and the designs that the wood's lines or grains make. For some steps, Jake uses his hands. For others, to save time, he uses machines from start to finish, including drying time. It takes Jake approximately 1 week to make a skateboard. Walk into Jake's large gray floored workspace and you'll see wood of every size and color. Wide wood planks and tall, narrow strips lean against one wall. Nearby is an L-shaped wooden work table. A white peg board holds wrenches, pinchers, and scrapers and tape measures. Hanging vacuum hoses are ready to suck up the curly wood chips that will fall to the floor. So were you surprised by anything here? Can you visualize Jake's workspace? How did the writers help you do that? After putting on his safety goggles and gloves, Jake followed these steps. Step 1. He chooses strips of wood based on their color and grains and puts them out on a big table. At this point, the strips are not all the same length or thickness. He decides which strips look good together. He arranges them to form a pattern. Step 2. He examines each strip to make sure it is strong and has no cracks or splits. Step 3. He places those strips on their flat side on a table and sands down the long sides of each strip. Step 4. He makes sure these inner sides fit together, then he glues the strips to one another, puts a clamp on them to hold them that way, and lets them dry overnight. Step 5. Jake uses a saw called a planer to make both sides of the boards totally flat. He shaves down his skateboards so they are 5/8 inch long. Step 6. He sands down the board so that it is perfectly flat on both sides. Step 7. We're going to stop at step 7.